To purchase a property in Spain, it is a big decision for family or also investment. So today we're going to look at how to purchase a property if you are an individual, and what is the preparation, what is the process, and some tips. Hello, my name is Linda Svilane and I'm a co-founder and property finder at Yes Valencia relocation company. There are many reasons why to move Valencia, like the climate, it's a perfect size of the city, it combines new and also old, architecture, people, food, and many more. You would be enjoying Mediterranean climate at a very reasonable price and cut your cost of living to a very reasonable amount. So here's the checklist before you purchase. First, where, the location, explore the areas, if possible, live there before. Spain is a unique country, but you have to make sure it's right for you. Second is the funds. So either you're going to move funds from overseas and you will open a Spanish bank account, or you will ask for the local mortgage, which is also possible for non-residents, or you will combine the both. Number 3 is the NIE number. Make sure you have an appointment or you have it already, because it will be required to complete the purchase. If you buy as an individual, the most common practice is that you would open a Spanish bank account and move the funds to this Spanish bank account. You don't have to have the NIE number to open it. You can open it as a non-resident, but it's quite important to select the account that meets your plan and requirements, because some Spanish banks charge for fund reception, and it can be quite a considerable amount, and also bank-to-bank transfers can cost you quite a lot, so it might be worth looking into some currency exchange platforms that can cut your expenses when moving the funds. Also, give yourself enough time to move funds, because Spanish central bank will monitor the transactions, and it is possible they can block the transfers and ask for additional documents to show that the funds are coming from legal sources of income, and that basically it's legal money. So that can take a couple of days and even up to a week or two, depending on your specific situation. So give yourself enough time to move the funds, think through how you will move them and where you will move them to. So otherwise you can run into quite expensive process. Second aspect you have to think through is getting the NIE number. You don't need it when you start the search for the property, but by completing the purchase you will have to have it. So if you happen to be EU citizen or a resident, it's a bit easier, but if you are non-resident, you don't live here and you simply want to purchase it for future, think through when you are getting the appointment and what documents will be required to present. Another very important part of the purchase is to pick the area and the type of property you're looking at. Today we are going to look at second-hand properties, the buildings that are already there. It is a bit separate and different process for building of the plan, but at the moment we are just looking units that are second-hand and already built, and they're standing in the region of Valencia. So when you are ready and when you have explored the areas and you have a plan, one approach is to go on your own and try to approach people who have listed properties, but you have to take into account that properties can be listed by several realtors, it can be listed by the owners, most of these people will speak Spanish, so it is a bit confusing, the whole process, and can turn out to be quite stressful if you're not well accompanied. So let's start about the process. How does that actually happen? In Spain, there's not one database for available properties. So when you see the listings, it can mean that one property is listed by 1, 2, 3, or 4 realtors. The photos may not match. It can also be listed by the private landlord. It can be listed by the bank. So you don't really go with one buyer's agent as it is in other countries. If you go on your own here, you basically deal with a dozen of people, and also the viewings are arranged just for the interested party. Basically, if you want to see a property, you have to make a phone call, go to the place, and the place will be shown just for you. In Valencia, the viewings usually are not done during the weekends. So if you plan your trip to Valencia, please make sure you are here also during the week. That's when the most viewings are done. Also, when you approach a realtor, you have to, at least in Valencia, because it's not the same in all parts of Spain, the realtors charge the buyer's fee, which is around 3% plus the VAT of the purchase value. For purchases higher than for a higher amount, of course, this is a free market. It is possible to negotiate some part of it, but you have to keep in mind that if you go with a realtor, there will be a fee to the buyer. It is quite common that when you look at the places, you will not be given floor plans or plans of the construction or property reports on the condition of it. So most of the times you walk in and you buy it as it is, which means that it may be a good idea to team up with professionals to make sure you make the right decision. You can inspect the property, but not always you have enough time to do that, especially if it is a great deal at a good price and it's just listed. Still, we do recommend to do due diligence and check as many things as possible and as carefully as possible. So we are talking about the technical, construction, legal side of the property. Also check on the neighbors. What is the community situation? Is there any conflicts going on? Also, if you plan to remodel, is it possible to install maybe the AC units in one part of the building or up on the top floor? So all these things is very important to go through. So the checklist is quite long to make sure that you don't run into problems you didn't even think of when starting the search. So once you have detected the property that you would like to purchase, you have to come up with an offer. And again, there's not like one standard you can refer to. Sometimes owners would not negotiate, and sometimes if the property has been quite long in the market, you should make an offer for a lower price. Not always they will come back with a counter offer. There are all possible scenarios you can think of. So either they can accept your offer, they can come back with a counter offer, or just say no, they're not negotiating anymore. But once you have agreed on the price, on the purchase price, then the first step is signing a contrato de arras, usually. That is a pre-contract where the parties agree on this commitment, and usually in Valencia it's done with 10%, when the buyer pays in 10%, and if the buyer steps out of the deal, the buyer loses the money. But if the seller steps out the deal, they have to pay it back and double the amount. So by this contract, usually the parties make sure they have enough time to prepare all the transaction and sign the deeds. On average, it takes 3 weeks, but it can take even up to several months depending on the buyer situation. It's quite common that people here change properties and they depend on selling one until they can move in the other one. So you have to be prepared that even if you find the right property, it doesn't mean that you can buy it on the spot. In these cases, it's quite advisable to consider setting up a power of attorney or leaving a person who can represent you here in Spain if you have to go, in case the documents need to be signed while you're not here. The closing is done in one day. It's pretty simple. It's more of the preparation to make sure that all the documents are presented and to prove that the property has no legal or physical obstacles to being purchased. So what are the costs of buying a property? It is a good question, and it's one of the preparation things you should go through as well, because not only is the purchase price, but also you have to take into consideration other costs. The costs will depend on each region of Spain, but if you are planning to buy in Valencia, then the cost of the transaction is 10%, the state fee, which is quite a lot, and the money should be prepared, and it has to be paid in 30 days after completing the purchase. Other costs you should take into consideration is the realtor's fee, which, as we discussed earlier, can be even up to 3% plus the VAT. Also, legal aid as an attorney. And again, the cost can vary depending on the service they provide, but it can be as little as like 500-600, and even go up to a 1% from the purchase value. And some other costs like registration and notary are relatively low. So notaries, I'm just saying from experience, can be somewhere from 500 to 800. Also registration usually is like 200-300. So it's not like really a cost that will be a deal breaker, but it's important to know that there are related costs to the purchase. To sum up, maybe you should count like 12 to 15% on top of the purchase value to make sure that you have sufficient funds to complete the purchase. So what happens after the purchase? The good news is the property tax in Valencia is not too high, but still you have to pay it yearly. And also if you own a property in Spain, Valencia, you have to file tax every year that is related to owning the property. Also, you have to pay the community charges, that is for community areas such as electricity, cleaning and similar. And also it's mandatory to hold insurance to cover the possible damage, and even if there's damage to the property, any possible costs. Also, check the costs for the inheritance in Spain. It may be a good idea to set up a will with a notary in Spain and to make sure that you know what the process will be after one of the owner passes away. If you plan to purchase a property in Valencia and all this sounds a little bit too complicated, or you're not sure that you're going to get through it with the best possible results in the process, feel free to reach out to us and we will be happy to help. We do help with all the arrangements. We guide and also advise, as well as we accompany to all the viewings and help to negotiate. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please let us know in comments if you had any struggles, you have questions, or you have any other things to say. From Yes Valencia, we do offer a property finder service. Okay. Next time we will cross your terrace. Next time we will cross your terrace with the view.